Hey, welcome back to Minds in Motion with Dr. K, where we explore the journey of high-performing leaders who are changing the world in this disruptive era while working on becoming the best version of themselves. I am your host, Dr. K, the next level executive coach, author, speaker, and organizational psychologist. And in today's episode, I am going to be having a wonderful guest, with me today, who is none other than Linh Mikutowicz. She has earned her undergrad in biology at UCLA. She also has MBA from UC Irvine, a former pre-med student, yes, I said pre-med student, who has turned into a retail real estate strategist. She's also a rising millennial star who is moving upward quickly in the corporate arena as she continues to disrupt. So today we want to talk about what it is like to be an agile leader and how she made these shifts from being pre-med student to becoming a real estate strategist. And she is killing it, y'all. Let me tell you, she is killing it. So today I just want to introduce her. So Linh, welcome to Minds in Motion with Dr. K.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right in. So Linh, the first, everyone is curious. They want to know, well, wow, pre-med to real estate? Yes. So my question to you today is, what inspired you to pursue medical school initially? And how did those motivation evolve over time?
Yeah, so basically since middle school, I thought becoming a doctor was the path for me. It felt like a natural fit at the time. Science came easier to me than other subjects. I enjoyed, my hospital volunteering experiences with patients and their families. I enjoyed helping people, improving their quality of life, really just inspired by the health journeys of my loved ones. I really was determined to make a broader impact on people's lives with a focus on kind of shifting away from reactive care to preventative care. So that really drew me to the field of medicine and healthcare in general. And then over time, especially as I was nearing the end of my time as an undergrad, I kind of gradually realized that what I thought was my passion for medicine, like quote unquote passion for medicine, primarily stemmed from kind of a lack of knowledge on what my other options and maybe even a general fear that anything else would not make my schooling and all the resources that my family and I poured into that schooling worthwhile. So I guess as a student growing up, I wasn't really exposed to many career paths at home or even in school. It was just very broad categories like healthcare, engineering, business, entrepreneurship. Like what was lacking was really that information on the different possibilities in each category, the nuances of a certain function across different industries, the broader skill set that's needed and the mindset that's needed to succeed in that career. So not really much exposure to that type of information. And then I guess over time, I realized becoming a doctor who would interact with patients on a very personal level all day was not a good fit for my introverted personality. And knowing myself and the nature of the work, that just wouldn't allow me to have the work-life balance I was seeking because I would just constantly be thinking about my patients when I got home. So that's kind of how I got there.
Wow. And one of the things you said, which I thought was really interesting, I thought you said you wanted to move from reactive to preventative.
Preventative, yeah.
So I hope more doctors would think along those lines, because that's what's needed in this time with all the multiple type of diseases and stuff. But you can get out of that world. So what I want you to do, Linh, is walk us through the pivotal moment or the series of events that shifted your career trajectory from medicine to the corporate world.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely several experiences, which then pushed me to pivot. So as kind of, I guess, as part of my preparation for medical school, I shadowed a lot of doctors, many different types of doctors. But this one day I was shadowing a gastroenterologist. I watched him as he saw his patients, carried out, routine procedures, completed a surgery, interacted with his colleagues. It was all very informative. And then at the end of the day, he sat me down in his office and asked me, why do you want to become a doctor? And I responded with what I just previously told you that. And then, he proceeded to draw out on a piece of paper all of the time and the debt that it would cost me to become a doctor than the time and the financial cost of being a doctor. So this was the first time really that someone with the career I was working so hard to build for myself challenged me and my motivations. So coming home from that, I kind of realized how uncomfortable I felt from not only what he explained to me, but also how my body seemed to react to that information coming from him. And I think it was then that I kind of realized that time is really my most valuable resource and that I need to take a step back to really understand the timeline of what I thought I wanted for myself. So this is kind of when I reminded myself, like, don't drink the poison just because you're thirsty, right? Like, not saying that becoming a doctor or any other career is like inherently toxic by any means, but that I shouldn't just give myself one option just because that was what I had invested all of my time into already. So just like looking at it holistically, you know, the general theme in my interest for medicine was actually more centered around wellness and self-care, I realized, which, you know, can come in many other forms than just physical health. So from there, I really kind of just sought to maintain a hold of that piece of me and just working on building out my toolbox. And at that point, my education and background had solely been focused on the sciences. So I decided to pursue an MBA, and I really wanted to just better understand, you know, how companies operate, the different functions, the strategies, and really, I guess, find where my strengths lie and hopefully transfer those strengths in like a completely different environment. And then ultimately, like after my first year in the program, I began to look for summer internships. I was having an incredibly difficult time finding ones at the graduate level in my field of interest, which was, you know, beauty and wellness, as well as like my function, which at that time was project management and operations. So what ended up happening was I found an undergraduate project management internship at a retailer. I applied anyways with a cover letter explaining, you know, my career goals and what I can contribute. And ultimately, the team there was willing to create an MBA level internship experience for me. So, you know, that internship leaned more towards strategy than project management, but it was a really pivotal and like an amazing experience. And I ended up really, really enjoying what I was learning. So after I graduated from my program, I was invited back to take over for my previous manager who was transitioning to a different role. So that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
I told you she was a rising star, you know, from being an intern to taking over the manager's role. Okay. And, you know, one of the things that you just shared was like the way I felt in my body. Because a lot of times, you know, a lot of young people go through to college, a lot of times is what the parents wanted for them, what they have seen the different ones in the family do and take on those careers. But they're not really passionate about it. It's not their passion. It's not what they feel they were called to or their purpose, but they have the, you know, the smarts to do it. They do it and then they get out of college and they're like totally bored, totally frustrated, feeling stuck because they have selected the wrong, made the wrong choice as far as a career path. But luckily for you, this doctor was smart enough to identify that there's much more out there for you to you know, to check out and really test out and see what, how else can I use all of this gift, talent, and ability that I have. And one of the things that you also said is, you know, that those skills are transferable, not because it was medicine that you can come incorporate, and you proving that because you are really sewing and moving up really quickly in your career path. So for any of you young people out there listening to this, know that it's okay. Don't feel because you were in one particular field that some of those skills are not transferable, and then you have OGT, you can learn on the job and grow and become that best version of you in doing something that you really enjoy. Because being in a hospital every day, an emergency or wherever they may have placed you, and grinding to something that you are not happy with, those lives are at stake. And to make a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to pivot. So this is why I call today's episode the Agile Leader, because being agile, she was able to quickly pivot. So I have an interesting question now, Lin Lin. From a
Mhm.
cultural perspective, how were you able to convince your parents that you can be just as successful in your new career?
Yeah. So ending that, journey towards healthcare was not an easy decision to make, because, this idea of me becoming a doctor was ingrained in me since I was a child. My mom came to America as a refugee, and like many people in her position, despite how successful she has become and how much abundance is in her life, she maintains this survivalist mindset towards life. And I think this preoccupation of me becoming a doctor really stemmed from maybe a lack of knowledge of other career paths and the idea that, it could guarantee a job, like guarantee job security, guarantee financial freedom, and guarantee respect from friends, family, and peers. So all completely valid assumptions. But I guess by recognizing and understanding this perspective, I was able to get the underlying concern, which, like I mentioned, one, job security, two, being able to support myself and my future family, and then three, making an impact of some sort. So I knew I had to address these three items in whatever my next chapter would be. And, of course, actions speak louder than words. So showing her that the 10 plus years I dedicated towards this career in healthcare would not go to waste because I could transfer those skills and still be just as successful in a new field of work, that was really critical. So, it did take a bit of a transitionary period for her to be like, okay, I'll sit back and watch you pursue this, but I'm still a little iffy. So it wasn't really until she saw the progress I was making through my new career that she felt comfortable and didn't really question it anymore.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure that was very tense for her. Like, why is she going to do incorporate? No, she's supposed to be Dr. Linlin,
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
parents, a lot of times parents, they say they live vicariously through their children,
Hmm.
things, but it's good to hear that she finally came around and accepted that this is your career path. And she felt comfortable enough to say, okay, let me release her to go ahead and live her best life. So
Right.
when you hear the word agile, what comes to mind? And did agility play a role to successfully make this transition for you?
Yeah, I mean, adapting to survive and being a lifelong learner. That's exactly like what I think of when I hear agile. Like in my career transition, the key shift was honestly in expanding the way I viewed myself and what I could contribute. So shifting away from this specialist to generalist mindset. And I think this broader way of thinking really helps with not only execution in the corporate world, but also communication with business partners, understanding corporate strategy, and so on. So I truly believe that in this day and age, the advantage of being a generalist is that we will not only, open, but we will also build more doors for ourselves. So remaining agile is, critical to inviting more growth and development opportunities, especially in this transitionary period.
Yeah, awesome. Because we are definitely where most companies are beginning to create that more of an agile culture where you
Mhm.
just don't continue to go down the trajectory and then derail, right? But how can we pivot and change direction so that we can take things to market a lot quicker and
Mhm.
achieve the results that we need a lot faster? So you
Mhm.
well aligned for this new era that we are facing, this landscape that is so disruptive, and you are a disruptor because to go from medicine and coming into real estate retail, that's definitely disruption, and that's what you millennials do. Y'all are just huge disruptors, and I love it because y'all don't just take things at face value. Y'all know what y'all want and y'all go after it. uh,
Mhm.
all of my favorite people. I love coaching with some millennials. I love working with some millennials because they just so open-minded, such a growth mindset, and they know exactly what they want. So Lillian, transitioning, from the field as a specialized as medicine, coming into the corporate environment must have been challenging. What would you say was some of the biggest hurdles that you had to face and how you overcame them?
Yeah,
And
I would say probably the top one was imposter syndrome. That was number one. As a newcomer to not only the industry, but also the function, I was really concerned about how people would perceive me and my capabilities. So, I often wondered if they would take me seriously or completely dismiss my contributions. And luckily, I had great advocates in my team who would constantly remind me that, I was there for a reason, that I had already proven I could handle what's ahead, and that's why they hired me. And, everyone starts somewhere, and many things can quickly be learned on the job if you are, a self-starter and naturally curious person. So, these great female mentors and leaders really recognized my potential and were willing to, transfer their knowledge to me and help me grow into the role. And, they had more than what they needed. And instead of building a higher fence, they built a longer table to offer me a seat. So I also live by, the saying that the grass is greener where you water it. So instead of wishing I had stayed in a field where I was comfortable and had much more background knowledge and experience, I kind of reframed my situation to view it as more of an opportunity to become a subject matter expert with a very unique background and perspective.
Wow. I just love this. And I have to repeat this. You said, as opposed to them building a higher fence and keeping people out, they built
Mhm.
a longer table so you can have a seat. I love, I'm going to use that, guys. Instead of building that higher fence and keeping people out because you're unsure,
Mhm.
more open-minded, have more of that growth mindset, and make the table longer so that you can have a seat for them. And it's so important to have those mentors who see the value in you, who see that potential and be able to bring that potential to performance. And that's
Mhm.
it for you and open that door. So whoever those people are, kudos to you and thank you. And we need more of those leaders who are going to build that longer table and not create a higher fence. I
Perfect.
that is so cool. So looking into the future, Lin, how important will it be to have an agile mindset, in particular as a woman in this increasing dynamic and fast-paced world? How important it is to be more
Yeah.
agile?
Yeah. I think it's no secret that women are time and time again underestimated in the workplace, and we're often pigeonholed or limited to a box that's been drawn around us by others. So it's really crucial that we demonstrate to these other people, whether they be peers or leaders or the industry as a whole, that we are multifaceted and capable of not only pivoting but excelling when we do so. So having an agile mindset, allows for us to make the most of these opportunities when they present themselves, and then also reduces that time period of doubt where some may question like whether we're able to tackle what's ahead. So being agile and up for the challenge, positions us in a way where we are kind of sewn into the fabric of the future and seen as critical change makers.
Yes, definitely change makers. Remember what Beyonce said, we rule the world, right? I'm sorry, guys.
Yes,
All right.
exactly.
And one of the things you also mentioned earlier, I wanted to kind of like
Mhm.
cycle back on is that imposter syndrome. You know, so many leaders, and I'm going to speak for the woman here, especially female leaders, a lot of emerging, even senior leaders do have that issue with imposter syndrome, right? Not really knowing how to really sit in and embrace their strengths, embrace their wisdom, embrace their knowledge and their smarts, and sometimes having a mentor or a leader or a coach to pour into you and let you know, like, yes, you can. Because a lot of the times they don't want to accept, like, you can, no, I'm not, I'm just, no, you're not just, you are who you are, a great leader, awesome leader, someone who can take breaks through some of those glass ceilings, who can bring up other emerging leaders alongside you and show that yes, you can do it, whatever you put your mind to, because you are definitely proof of that, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So looking back on your journey, what advice would you give to other professionals considering a significant career pivot? They're like, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I want to do that, but I'm not sure. Especially those who are transitioning out of specialized fields such as medicine.
Right.
What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I would just say, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great, right? So that start may just be to take a risk to try something new, write and submit that cover letter that you think no one's going to read. Reach out to somebody, that stranger may end up becoming your biggest mentor and advocate. Identify where your opportunities for development are and actively address them. Don't just dwell on the fact that you're lacking in that area. Demonstrate that you're a quick learner, this doesn't always have to mean that you have to obtain another formal degree like I did, but even just engaging in self-learning can be immensely beneficial. Even if it doesn't directly impact your day-to-day, it will boost your self-confidence when you're speaking on the matter. And then I guess lastly, I would just say, like, don't tether your identity to your previous career. Like, you're so much more than that and have so much to give and so much to offer. So consider the transition, a completely new chapter of your life, and then open yourself up to the possibility of not just more, but better.
Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness, this was like a whirlwind of nuggets. So I hope if you are out there and you're listening, that you have taken some of these nuggets. She said you don't have to be great to get started, but in order to be great, you have to start. Right? So if you're out there and you procrastinating and you wondering and going around the foothills, just get started. And then you can build the greatness as you go.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh my goodness. I love this. Thank you so much, Lin Lin, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and share all of these, great nuggets with us here. So to all my listeners out there, all my millennials listening, I hope you would leave some comments here for Lin Lin. She has shared a wealth of information with us. Again, this rising star, this millennial, from medicine to real estate strategist, and she's killing the game. So thank you so much for being on the set today, Lin Lin. And thank
Yes.
you so much, listeners, for joining us today to hear all these wonderful things. Any final remarks before we leave, Lin Lin, that you want to share?
No, I mean, I just want to say thank you for having me. And, for everyone out there who's, questioning what their next step is, you don't really have anything to lose, right? Other than your time, and time is precious. So if there's something that you want to pivot to, just, you can always fall back on what your original plan was, but, take the risk now, especially if you're young, you're in your 20s, you're coming straight out of college. You still have a lot of time left. It's not over. Like, you didn't commit to a lifetime for the career that you thought you wanted during your college years. So take that risk, and good luck to all of you.
Yes, take the risk. Remember, time is a currency. So make sure that you're spending it wisely.
For
Okay?
sure.
Gonna go bankrupt. So thank you again. This is it for today's episode of the Agile Leader with our wonderful guest, Lin Lin, who joined us and really dropped all her bombs and all her nuggets. So if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and leave a comment on your favorite podcast platform. We are streaming on Spotify, on Apple, on iHeartRadio, and we are also on YouTube. So you can go anywhere and leave us a comment. Share this with others, with other millennials, with other emerging leaders, so they can get some good nuggets as to how they can continue to build their career path. Help us spread this message to even more listeners. Thank you for tuning in today to Minds in Motion with Dr. K. And remember to always, always empower you. Until next time, make it a great day. Bye for now.